I will say that we're living at a time of unprecedented interest in the Arctic, uh, including in the United States. And that is a good thing. When the United States took over as chair of the Arctic Council, one of our ambitions was to make more of our fellow citizens aware of the Arctic, about U.S. interests in the Arctic, about the needs and challenges, also the opportunities there. I am not aware of another international forum that has representatives of indigenous groups engaged the way the Arctic Council does. They are at the table essentially as equal partners with the governments. And they bring a lot to that table. Among other things, their populations span multiple countries for the most part. There's one collective organization that is about the Russian Arctic indigenous peoples, but they cover a large swath of the Arctic as well. They have special needs and special points of view that get aired. Officially, they don't participate in decision-making as such. Those are for the 8 governments. But the reality is that the governments, at least in my experience, will not take decisions that are opposed by so-called permanent participants. Part of the ongoing work of the Arctic Council is to figure out how to deal with the indigenous peoples of the Arctic better. There are some serious problems, unique, maybe not unique, but particular to their communities. One in particular is the alarming rate of suicide among indigenous communities in the North. And there is one project we have underway, building on some good work from the Canadian chairmanship that just ended, to help deal with the incidence of suicide in indigenous communities.
Can you talk about that program a little more?
I'm not probably not the best person to know so much about it. I do know that the problem is acute. We did hear from the chair of the working group in question, the so-called Sustainable Development Working Group. Roberta Burns is the current chair. There was a workshop here earlier this week looking at it. There will be a lot more work being done. This Rising Sun initiative is an effort to find ways to allow communities to cope with suicides that have happened, but more particularly to prevent them in the first place through youth engagement. That's about as much as I know. Yeah, so one of the things we wanted to do is to showcase some of the good work that's being done in Alaska and try to use it or show it as a model for things that could be taken up elsewhere in the Arctic. So the state of Alaska has this water and sewer challenge. We thought this would be a good example of things that are being tried to improve access to, for example, reliable water and sewer facilities throughout the Arctic. We're trying to get people to focus on renewable energy in the Arctic, particularly for small communities that are paying a great deal of money in energy costs. There are some exciting developments here in Alaska, including working with microgrid technology that we think might be useful elsewhere in the Arctic. But it's a two-way street. Other Arctic countries are doing great things too, and we're trying to adapt what is being used elsewhere here in Alaska. We've also created a new task force to look at telecommunications throughout the Arctic. You must know, right, that especially in the highest latitudes, telecommunication services are poor compared to the rest of the world. This has very direct consequences for people's lives, including medicine, medical practices that rely on good broadband connections, which largely don't exist. We're hoping to engage the private sector, telecommunications companies, through the Arctic Council to try to